It's time for Recipe of the Day. It used to be the case that if I was making a big breakfast at home on the weekend, I wouldn't make any kind of potatoes or hash browns or anything. I've got the bacon cooking and I'm monitoring the eggs, sometimes different kinds of eggs for different people, depending on what people want, and then the toast and maybe some fruit cut up. And it was just like a lot of things to be keeping my eye on, and I'm trying to chill because it's the weekend. And so I would skip the potatoes. But that was before I got an air fryer. You know, I have been cooking for a long time, and not a lot of like new tools have come into my life that I've actually found super useful and helpful that I use all the time. You know, a lot of what I do is like standardly the way that I was taught or figured out to do a long time ago, right? But the air fryer really has changed things. And when it comes to making an easy potato on the side for breakfast or for dinner, that is definitely something that the air fryer helps me with every single time. When it comes to today's recipe for air fryer home fries, what I love most about it is that it's pretty flexible with timing. Like, I'm going to be telling you to cook them for 20 minutes, but if they're in there for longer, maybe you turn it down, maybe you don't, they get browner. And then if you're taking too long with everything else and you don't want them to get any more brown, you can just sort of open the air fryer and then close it again, turn it off, and they stay pretty warm in there for a long time too. So it's just a super like hands off, they'll be fine, flexible way to get those potatoes into your weekend breakfast, or really for dinner too. Like, I am often just tossing some potatoes into the air fryer while I make other stuff, and that side dish is done, you know? Okay, so what we're gonna do is use 4 russet potatoes, baking potatoes, that kind of potato. I like those because they brown nicely on the outside and get like fluffy and soft on the inside. I don't usually use like a red potato for this. That's going to be a little like waxier. It's actually really good. It's just a different texture from the one that I'm trying to get with this home fry recipe. And like what we're thinking of is those like cubes of potatoes that are often deep fried at a diner and served to you that way. So that is what we're trying to do, but we're doing them in the air fryer. So russet or like some kind of baking potato, and you're going to cut those into 1/4 inch cubes. And it was 4 potatoes. I think I said that. Oh, you know what? I will also say that there was one time, about a year ago, that I had another family coming over for breakfast. So there were going to be 8 of us. And I just doubled this. My air fryer was just like packed full of potatoes. And I thought for sure there was no way they would cook. They took a lot longer and I had to like shake them regularly, but they totally did all get brown and nice. If you want to do more than 4, it's going to work. It's just going to take a little bit longer. In terms of figuring out your breakfast timing, what I would probably do is get the potatoes going when they're like halfway done. That's when you should cook up your bacon. Then you can transfer the bacon to a warm oven, like 200 degrees Fahrenheit, like blot it dry first and then put it on a pan or an oven safe plate in the oven at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Bacon's going to stay warm then. Then when you think your potatoes are done, that is when you would cook up your eggs. They're going to be good for another few minutes in the air fryer while the eggs cook, and then you're putting your toast down. So that's the timing that I would do if you're not sure how long they're going to take because you put too many in the air fryer. But if we're starting with 4 medium baking potatoes, you are going to cut those into 1/4 inch cubes, and optionally you put them in a bowl of cold water for 10 to 15 minutes. And that is just going to remove some of the starch, and it does make them brown a little bit more. It is not necessary though, and I almost never do it. So do it if you have the time and you want to see if it works, but don't if you don't have the time or you can't be bothered. Okay, if you have done this, you're going to pour the water off of them, and then you're going to blot them dry with a paper towel as best as you can. You don't want them to be too wet because then they'll steam a little bit when they're first in the air fryer and not start like browning and crisping. If you weren't soaking them in water, I do usually at least rinse them in water because we haven't peeled them, and sometimes some of the dirt from the peel, even though you washed them before you cut them, can sort of still be there. So giving them a good rinse. It also gets any of the like starch that just came out off of them, so that's handy too. Okay, so either way, pour off the water, blot them dry, and then you are tossing them with 2 tablespoons of cooking oil. It says olive oil in the recipe, but I usually use grapeseed oil for this. Doesn't really matter. And you're also adding a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and you toss those all around with those seasonings. If you wanted to, you could also add some paprika, smoked paprika. That would be great in there. If you wanted to add onions and peppers, sometimes people do that in their home fries or hash browns, you wouldn't add them now. We're going to add them later. Okay, those potatoes that have been soaked or not and then dried and then tossed with those other ingredients, they get transferred to the air fryer basket and you turn that to 400 degrees Fahrenheit and cook them for 20 minutes. And you're going to shake that basket every 5 minutes or so just to help them cook evenly. In the 20 minutes, they will be nice and soft inside and brown on the outside. If you have a bigger batch of potatoes in there, like I was talking about, I would leave them for a little bit longer before you do that first shake. Like let them get a good 10 minutes of heating, then shake them, and then start shaking them every 5 to 7 minutes until they're nice and brown. And fork tender, test that with a fork. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there, or find it in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/recipeotd. And hey, just a quick note. I'm on a recording hiatus right now, so for the next little while, I'm replaying episodes from the archives, including this one. If you heard me mention a holiday, a season, or something going on in my life that seemed a bit off, that's why. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you're enjoying these older episodes. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, cookfor2.us, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.